All right, guys, today we're going to take a look at this guy. This is the Rapid Safe AR wall lock for the AR platform of rifles. This is made by Hornady Security. And this thing, $155. About 20 of you asked me, but I finally reached my limit and decided to splurge a little bit. This thing is very heavy. I would say about 15 pounds. It's all 14 gauge steel, very aerodynamic here on the front, no sharp edges to get snagged up on. As we rotate it around, you can see the stock of your weapon will protrude from here. On the top of it would be where your optical sight will protrude from, or a carrying handle if that's what you have on your platform. And then, of course, we've got the two hardened steel hinge pins. And they put some thought into this. You can see that the pin is buried about halfway inside of the body. So we're not going to be able to punch that pin out of there to get it to fit that way. And then if we have the stock on the other end, there must be room for your hand guard to protrude from this side. On the bottom of it, kind of interesting. I'm going to have to hold this back a little bit. We have 5 silicone feet. So if you're just going to leave it sitting around, which is probably not recommended, they really want you to bolt it down. These little silicone plugs come out, and they give you 8 of these pretty heavy duty, very long bolts to bolt it down with, either to the floor or to a wall. The only other opening on the back of here, other than the bolt holes, would be this little guy, and that's because this lock is powered by both batteries and by AC. They give you this little AC adapter, and there has to be a hole large enough for the plug to thread through to power it internally if you've got this bolted down to the wall. So I'll show you a little bit more about that in a minute. The other holes here are more of a safety mechanism, and they really want us to use it. There are 6 high security screws in here. So you see, they don't want us to remove these very easily simply by the number of them and the type of security screws. They really want us to use this and not defeat the safety mechanism. And I'll show you that as we get inside of there. Before we do that, let's take a closer look at this. This is a really interesting part of the design of this, the electronic RFID lock. All right, this lock is one of the major selling points that Hornady Security uses for this lock box. It offers a wide variety of ways to get in. Obviously, it is a combination lock, but more than that, it's also a RFID sensor, RFID lock, and I'll demonstrate how that works in just a moment. You'll notice it only has 4 digits, but you can program this anywhere from 4 to 6 digits, and you can reuse the numbers. In other words, you can use all 4s if you like, so that greatly increases the number of combinations in order to get in here. I've got this one programmed to 1, 2, 3, 4, but let's go through a quick scenario here real quick. It's the middle of the night, the room is completely dark, I hear some noise downstairs, and I need to get access to my AR. Ideally, you'd approach this and fumble around in the dark, and you'd feel the keypad and then press the H or the Hornady button, and that would light up the keypad. You get a blinking light that would tell you the condition of the internal batteries, green being above 80%, yellow meaning 50%, and if it blinks red, it means change my batteries now, because very soon everything I'm getting ready to show you will not work unless you have the AC power connected. All right, so we press the button, it lights up the keypad, and then I'm going to press my combination. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I have to press the Hornady button again, and then I get an unlock. Very easy to do. Now let's say that I approach this in the middle of the night, and I'm fumbling around, I'm nervous, I heard a lot of noise downstairs, and I accidentally pushed the number 4. That will give me a light up my keypad, but then if I push in my combination, it will not work. And that's because by pushing the 4, it thinks that was the first combination. So ideally, fumble around in the middle of the night, push anything to get the keypad to light up, push the H to zero it out, then punch in your combination. So that's just a good practice to get into. Train that way, and that way when the pressure's on, you won't have to try to fumble around in the dark. Another way to get into this thing is with RFIDs. This is the Hornady H key fob, and it contains an RFID tag beneath that little circle right there. Now, this doesn't always work. When the keypad is inert like it is now, it usually doesn't work, and it's not going to work now. So ideally, again, if you're using the same training technique, push it to light it up. You can see where the RFID tag needs to go, and then it will work. And what I suspect is by powering up the keypad, that probably activates the sensor to pick up the RFID tag. So we got an open that way. So we have one of these, comes with the kit for $155. We also get 2 of these little guys. These are also RFID tags. And on the back, they both have adhesive. You can put one of these like on your, I don't know, on your pajamas. And in the advertising, they show one of these stuck to a phone. So if you're the kind of person that goes to bed with your phone in your pocket, this would be an ideal, very light way to get into it. Probably will not work unless I light up the keypad. Now it does work occasionally, and I don't understand why it doesn't work all the time, but there we do have an unlock with this one, and see if I can get an unlock with the other one, and the other one works just as well. Well, I said it did. There we go. I must have relocked it. The last thing that we have, I'm going to have to pull back just a little bit, otherwise the camera won't focus, is a Hornady wristlet. Bracelet for women. It's a wristlet for men, I suppose. I've had a little trouble with this guy. Inside of here is a RFID tag, and this appears to be metal. It's a very high quality band. This is probably the most likely thing that someone is going to be wearing all the time if you can bring yourself to do it. It also does not work unless the keypad is lit up, and on this one, it rarely works even when the keypad is lit up. Come on. It does work. It's just a little finicky. Come on. There we go. It does work. So, while there's a lot of flexibility built into this, because it doesn't open every time with this, and that makes it not so reliable in my book. The other thing is having to push this H. I should be able to just push 1, 2, 3, 4 and get an open without having to worry about that extra step. Likewise, the extra step of having to zero out the safe if I accidentally mash something other than the first digit before I begin pushing, that to me is a huge hassle. So when you're under stress, you forget these fine detail things. You lose your fine motor skills. And so all of these button pushes would probably slow you down quite a bit. Just my 2 cents worth. All right, the other thing I'd like to talk about is when the electrical power fails, or if when your RFID tags don't always work, we do have a mechanical backup. And like a lot of the other safe we looked at recently, this one, unfortunately, is also a 20-year-old technology tubular lock. This is a 7-pinner. This does, however, work every single time. And we rotate it about 90 degrees, and we get an open. So let's go ahead and get the camera back, and let's take a look at the inside of this thing. All right, when we open this up, you can see that Hornady Security has done a pretty good job of protecting your weapon. Inside is this eggshell type foam, both top and bottom, and you can see that when the lid is closed, it will compress to keep your weapon from flopping around inside of there. Even if it does flop around, you can see all of the sharp edges are covered with this very heavy rubber, so there'll be no scratching or marring of your weapon. And another adjustment to keep your weapon from flopping around is this little guy right here. It's to go up against the back of your pistol grip. So it'll accommodate a lot of different pistol grips. And there's about an inch of play here for adjustment. We have 2 hardened steel locking lugs that fit into the top of the locking tray. Let me go ahead and zoom in on that and talk a little bit about the programming of the RFID tags. All right, in the top cover, we have a cutout here for 4 AA batteries. They don't come with this for some reason. You'd think at $155 they could give you 4 AA's, but they don't. But they do give you this AC adapter, and this is how that works. As you recall, there was a rectangular hole on the back that you would thread this through. You would feed it through, pull the foam back, and then slide it right on the bottom. Press your wire down, recover it with foam, and now you have AC power with a battery backup and a tertiary backup of the key. So pretty cool stuff. This is the reprogramming tray. Now this is a little bit unique because everybody always points out that, hey, if you press that reset, you're going to get in. And in this case, it probably is not so true. First of all, it's going to be compressed up against the magazine well of your weapon, which is compressed inside of this foam. So fitting anything inside of there is going to be quite a challenge. On top of that, you'll notice that this is recessed down inside of here about 1/4 of an inch. So you'd have to curve around there, and then you'd have to fumble around trying to find the button, and it's perfectly flush. It's a blister type button. There's nothing really to feel, particularly with wire that you're shoving down the side. So while I'm sure it's possible by some miracle with X-ray vision, maybe Superman, but most people aren't going to be able to do it. This is the red Hornady H. You press that, and what will happen is it'll light up and tell you which station you're programming. Now, in this case, I've got every single station programmed. Number 1, I've got programmed with the combination, which I've already demonstrated. Number 2 is my H key fob. 3 and 4 are my adhesive RFID tag discs. And number 5 is my wristlet. So this thing is completely programmed, and with a single push of the button, it will tell you that. It's asking me if I want to reprogram number 5, and I don't have another device, so I'm not going to do that. I can reset everything by pushing this for 5 seconds, in which case nothing will then work after that. You guys are probably going to ask, did I try to spoof it? And absolutely. I spent about 25 minutes with a variety of different batteries, and that explains some of the scrapes and all that on the front. I was not able to spoof this RFID lock. So in that respect, it's pretty secure. All right, let's take a look at the bottom and see how a weapon fits inside of this thing. All right, the bottom tray is obviously where we're going to place the weapon. But before I do that, I wanted to show you a safety device, basically, that Hornady really discourages us from disabling. And they've done that by putting those 6 high security screws in there. This is designed to go through the open ejection port. So in order to put a weapon in here, we're going to have the bolt locked to the rear. 2 advantages, obviously safety, and the second is that security. If that is securely holding the weapon in there, obviously you're not going to be sliding it back and forth to try to manipulate it out of the box. I don't see how that would be possible anyway, but just one more guarantee that it's not going to happen. All right, let's go ahead and take the weapon and slide him in there into the magazine well, and you can see it fits pretty well. Make a little bit better angle here. Fits in there pretty well. This is the adjustment that I was talking about for the pistol grip. This is a ergo, so it allows me to completely collapse this. If you have the standard grip, you'd slide it almost a full inch forward. So you can accommodate all of those. Let's take a look at a couple of things here, though. The first one would be on this side. Now, I have these are Knight's Armament. It is a rail, and I got some rail covers on there. These are pretty standard fare. There are a lot of these out there. The problem is that this cutout is designed for standard handguards. So when you have rail covers on these, it won't close. I can't get it to close. So in order to use this box with this weapon, I would have to remove my rail covers off the Knight's Armament. So that's the first thing. Moving on to the top of the box here, you'll notice that this cutout will only fit a certain class of optics. If you have a red dot sight, like military issue, laser sight, something like that, it'll fit. Reflex sights should be no problem. If you have a larger magnification type scope, anything longer than a normal handguard probably will not fit through that opening. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you're looking at this. And then the last thing to look at is the type of stock that you have. This cutout is designed for standard stock. Obviously, this is a collapsible stock. And this one is by Magpul. Again, a very common stock. The problem is, of course, that it will not close on that stock either. Now, what I could do is open my stock up just enough, and then it will close. Now, if you have a standard stock and a 1 or 2 point sling, you're going to have to take your sling off. It won't fit. However, if you have a 1 point like I do with a collapsible stock, you can then thread your sling down through there, and now there's enough for this side to close. So if I remove the rail covers, that might work for me. If it were not for this guy, again, a common modification for emergency action, it's an extended bolt handle. When this closes, it hits right here. It won't quite close. And again, a compromise, I could open it up and I could pull it back to right here so it'll strike the foam, and then there's plenty of clearance for it to get around it. But I'm still stuck with the problem of those handguard and the rail covers. So for my case, this is probably not a good choice for me. If you have a standard AR-15 or AR-10 with standard handguards, or you do not have rail covers, if you have a standard reflex type sight that will fit through there, and if you don't have a collapsible stock or an extended charging handle, this would probably be a good choice for you. Other than that, let me pull this out of here. I think you guys already can see where I'm going with this. I am not happy with the reliability of this lock. I think there are just too many quirks that require too many button pushes to access it. I am happy with this lock, however. It works 100% of the time. The downside, of course, is it's a very, very common lock and very easy to defeat. 20 years ago, this was state of the art. Today, any chucklehead that has one of these can get inside of it. And let's make it happen. So let's just push all these all the way down. Line them up. And we are in. That is how quick it is with a very inexpensive tool. If this were an abloy, I would be very happy and I would completely eliminate the electronic portion of this safe. Anyway, guys, 155 bucks, I would say don't do it. Probably not a good investment. It's just this system is just not as reliable as it should be for a box that's going to give you emergency access to a weapon. It's just not reliable. Anyway, thanks, guys. Appreciate your time. Stay safe. Stay legal. All right, guys. Like all review items, this Rapid Safe AR wall lock by Hornady Security is going to be a giveaway. Stick around a minute and I'll tell you how to do it. But keep in mind, if you win this, no matter where you live, simply based on the weight and bulk of this thing, you're going to have to pay for shipping on this one, fellas. All you need to do is navigate to locklab.com, the tribal website, and scroll down in the middle of the page. You'll see all the giveaway buttons, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But the one you're looking for is the weekend review giveaway, purple band. Just click on it. It'll take you to the registration page. Again, scroll to the bottom, put in a good email address. So if you win, I can get in touch with you, let you know. Put in a username, doesn't matter what it is, and click submit. When you're done, you'll get a green check mark confirming your entry. Thanks, guys.